What I'd like to do with this video today is give you a quick walkthrough of how to set up a brand new event or edit a current event. Really, either process is going to go through the same 4 steps, so I'm just going to walk you through each of the pages. This first page, when you log in, it's what we call the organization page. A few quick things here. If you have multiple organizations that you own, there'll actually be a drop down here for you to select which one you'd like to look at. Within your little drop down here next to your login is where you'll go to sign out. Go review your account information, which is going to be the address for your account and the right check to information, and also a link to our help and FAQ pages if you'd like to find some more information. A few other things, if you actually go and have an event you want to just see some basic demographic high-level information on it, if you go ahead and click on that event so it leaves it highlighted, you'll see there's a little statistics tab over here on the right. If you click on that, you'll see that there's a quick breakdown of what's going on with your event so far. If I actually want to go into edit an event or start a new event, if you're starting a new event, you're going to go ahead and click on this blue button over here, and it's going to take you to step 1. But what I'm going to do is walk through the edit process. So if you want to go ahead and edit my demo triathlon event, we'll go over here to the little pencil and click on that to edit. Step 1 is where you'll list all the basic information about your event. You'll choose the category or the type of event that you're putting on, list the event title, and then any additional information you want to add to the front page to describe your event. Left hand side, you can go ahead and load your event logo, and then on the right here you'll list the event date and time. If it's a event that goes like over a weekend, or maybe it's a membership that's for the entire year, you'll go ahead and list the event end date to have your event open for a range of dates. Below here, there's the event location, so you'll list the location and the address that goes along with the event. What this will do is it'll actually put a link to Google Maps on your landing page so that people can just click on that to get directions. Moving further down the page is the personal information collection section. By default, we do ask for first name, last name, street address, email address, and phone number. And then gender and birth date are also options that will be turned on by default. If these are checked, they will be required questions as part of your registration. And with birth date, it will also, if people fill this out, you will get a column in your reports for age on race day. So that's calculated automatically. And then if you want to tier any of your pricing based on age, this will have to be checked as well. Next up is the activity definition, where you'll define the different choices for your event. In the case of our triathlon, we do have an individual registration or a relay registration. When you first get here, you will be adding an activity using the green button over here. I'm going to go ahead and go through the edit screen. 2 things to point out before we do that, though, is if you do create an activity, you want to delete it, there's the red X. There's also the copy. So if your activities are very similar, what you can do is build one out. Once that's created, you go ahead and just copy it and then make the changes to for the new activity, as opposed to building each one from scratch every time. So we'll go ahead and add or edit a new activity. Each activity will have its own date and time. The name will go here. If you want to add a brief description about what this activity is, you can do that here. It'll show up on the landing page for your event. Choose the type, whether it's an individual or a team. If you switch it to team, it will open the constraints for a minimum maximum number of team participants that'll be required to complete that team registration. Maximum of registrations, if you put a number here, this is going to be 500. Only 500 registrations are going to be allowed for this Olympic individual activity. So once 500 have been, it's been reached, 500 registrations have been taken, this activity will actually close automatically. Display order is just which, on the landing page, which one you want to show is the first option, second option, third option. So the last thing we're going to need, though, is the activity pricing. You will need at least one pricing record for each activity, even if that price is 0. In this case, we do have a setup. This setup shows a tiered pricing based on date. So how this works is the registration will open, and then through February 1st, through end of day February 1st, the price is going to be $55. As soon as we reach February 2nd, it's going to automatically switch to the next pricing record, which will be in place then until April 1st. So it'll switch automatically to that $65. I recommend kind of writing that in the description, just because these dates actually aren't shown on the landing page, so this will kind of help people understand when these pricing changes are going to happen. So we'll go ahead and save. And now that we've added our activities, a few things I'll point out. These are optional items for your landing page. You can add a Vimeo or YouTube video, add some photos to your landing page, or else the registration confirmation tool, which allow your participants to come back and actually check if they are registered for your event. So we'll go ahead and continue. Step 2 is where you'll add any additional questions that you want to ask your participants. In the case of our triathlon, each participant gets their own t-shirt, so we're going to have to ask them each what their t-shirt size is. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this participant information. You can change this to race information or any type of other name you want that first header to be. And we'll go ahead and add a question. There are a number of different question types. For this option, I'm going to go ahead and choose it to make it a drop-down question. We'll say t-shirt size. Put the different choices for them for their t-shirts. I'm going to make this a required question because I want them to answer it in order to complete their registration. Order again is just going to be the order in which the questions show up on the page. And down at the bottom, you can actually choose to not only add this to the activity we're on, but our other activities for the event. So every participant in my triathlon is going to get a t-shirt. So I also want to ask the relay participants. Now I want to ask each participant, not just the team. If you choose ask the team, it's only going to ask the entire team once as opposed to each participant of that team. So we're going to go ahead and add this to both. If you want to add another question, you can do it here to open another window or just click done. And here you can see that the t-shirt size question has been added, and you kind of get a representation of what it's going to look like for the participants. If you need to go back in and edit or delete, those buttons are here. One thing to note, if you go in and edit, you'll notice that the section below is missing now, because if you make a change to a question that's already been added, you're going to need to do that go into each activity then and make that change. That goes the same for delete too. Once a question's been added, you'll have to go in and actually delete it from each activity if you need to do that. So if we want to add another section, give it another group heading, we can go ahead and just add heading. Maybe you need to collect emergency contact information, so you can go ahead and do that and then add the questions underneath here. But now I'm going to go ahead and switch to the relay and add the relay questions. And you'll see here actually the race information question has been added. This is the question that carried over that I created the first time on an individual activity. But what's different about the relay is this is a team type activity. So now we're going to have two sections. We have questions you want to ask each individual and add questions you want to ask each team. So something like team name, we're only going to want to ask that question once. We're not going to want to ask each participant to write in their team name. So we're going to create this section up here as opposed to questions down here again, which is going to be required or asked of each individual within that team. So once you have your questions added, we can go ahead and click Save and Continue to go to Behind the Scenes. We'll need to fill out the event contact information. Every time somebody registers, they get an email, or basically the email receipt once they have registered, and it'll have this information displayed on the bottom, so if they have any questions, they know who to contact about questions about the event. But then this email address will also, if this box is checked, this email address will also receive a copy of every one of those notifications. So every time somebody registers, this email address will get that confirmation email as well. If you have a custom message you want to put on that participant email, so once they register, if there's any additional information or maybe a personal note you want to put on that email, you can do that here. If we scroll down, if you have a waiver or a particular liability waiver that you need participants to accept in order to complete your registration, you'll need to load that here. And then the fees and payments section is where you'll decide how you want to handle the processing fees. By default, this will be set up to pass the fees on to your participants, so when they register, they'll actually be paying the fees as part of their order. Or you can choose to have your organization pay all those fees or anywhere in between. And I suggest you do contact our support line if you want to do something different than what's listed here, just to make sure that they can help you get it set up properly. You can also choose if you want to accept checks. So by default, obviously our system takes all credit card registrations, but if you want people to be able to check out and then agree to send you a check directly for their registration, you just have to check this box, and at the end of their order they will have the option to just select send in check and then check out from there. Alright, we'll go ahead and save and continue from here. And now we're on the final step to creating your event. So you can certainly from here just hit save and leave your event inactive, but you can also choose to go to active private or active public. Active public will make your event, it's open, it'll be searchable by Google, it'll add it to our public events calendar and allow people to register. Active private, this is if you have your event but you don't want it to be searchable by Google, you don't want it to show up on the active calendars, but you still want to allow people to register. They will need to be given the link, or it'll need to be posted somewhere for them to click on in order to find your registration. You can also decide to delay your registration. So you can set it to active public, but actually say have the registration open automatically at a specific date and time. You will also need to decide when you want your registration to close. Registration open is not a required field. Registration closed is. So for our event, we would want it to close a few days prior to the actual event. I think we had like the 15th, so we'll set it for the 13th. And you can choose which time you want the event to automatically close as well. But note, these dates are based on Central Standard Time, so you'll need to take that into account when setting these items. So from now, we can go ahead and click Save. So your event now is completely set up. You'll notice that it changes the status. And what you'll want to do, though, is go ahead and click on Preview. It'll bring up the landing page for your event. And what you'll want to do is just click Register Now, walk through the process just like a participant would, and make sure everything looks correct and good to go. And you're all set. A few other features I'd like to point out. If you're back on this order screen, organization screen, and you see our new event is listed here, and it is listed as public. But if you have events that are open or currently taking registrations, you kind of want to get just a real quick idea of where things are at for that event, you can click and highlight that row and then go over to our statistics tab over here. And what that'll do is give you just a quick breakdown of what's going on with the financials, total registrations, and then a breakdown of each, how many registrations have been taken for each activity. The other item I wanted to point out is the marketing tab. So these are some additional items you can do that are helpful for marketing your events. So we'll just click on the M. Actually, I'll do it for this one up here. If you have a website you'd like to add a Register Now button to that will lead directly to your registration on zapevent.com, you can copy this HTML code from here. You also have the option to create a custom link, or basically a short link for your event. We also have a wizard that'll step you through how to publish your event to Facebook, and then also a way to email your participants. So once you've started taking registrations, you can email all your participants if you have any specific information or updates you'd like to let them know. Or else a lot of people will go into last year's event, email all the participants from last year letting know registration is open for this year. We do also have promo codes and pricing discounts, which I'll just mention real briefly. Promo codes, people will need to have the code in order to get the discount, where automatic pricing discounts are set up so they'll happen automatically based on criteria. So those are kind of our additional options we have for your event in terms of marketing items. If you have any other questions or need more assistance with the custom reports, you can contact our customer support line at 612-548-5648 or email at support@zapevent.com.